I've never been given that exact compliment before, and it was worded in such a way where I knew exactly what he was talking about. It was really funny to me.
I thought you hit someone with a car and drove away.
Ass to grass, baby. That's my motto.
You do have sick depth, bro.
This is quite the journey. You're gonna want to buckle in.
Welcome, everyone, back to the Hardpoint. My name's Josh. I go by One Punch Dad online.
Hey, I'm Cody. I go by Coda Roams. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for being here. And this is episode, we'll call it 6.1.
We'll call it 6.1.
6.1.
And it's going to be better than ever. It's like the new update. The point one's always better than the original. So this one's going to be even better.
The patch just dropped. And we're not going to go into all the improvements, but it will be an improvement. Yeah, I guess we can just jump right into it. Before I do, though, hey, I want to remind everyone, thank you if you're coming back to us. We appreciate that. For our regular listeners, if you're new to us, make sure and hit that subscribe button. Leave us a comment.
Yeah.
If you hear something that just is out of pocket, off the wall, and you don't like it or you like it a lot, jump in the comments. Tell us about it. Tell us how you're feeling.
It'd mean a lot, and it helps us out more than anything. It really does.
Yeah, buddy. Comment for the algo, baby. So this is actually not our first stab at recording in episode 6. We actually recorded our first attempt last night. Went pretty well. Not super high energy. I've been sick this week, so I'm kind of fighting through the last bit of this, whatever it is. Just a Christmas bug. As you do. Anyway, we get to the end of the episode. We wrap. We hit the stop record. Everything's looking good. And through a unfortunate series of events, I nuked my video and my audio file, and it's gone. So we are recocked and re-racked, and we're doing it again. And Cody, my man, I gotta say, I gotta hype you up a little bit, man, because throughout the entire thing, as disappointing as this was, and we'll get into that, never once made me feel like shit for it, and I really appreciate that. What a teammate to have, man. I really do mean that. You've really, through this whole thing, have just been very helpful in your encouragement and your belief in it. So that simultaneously makes it more disappointing because I want to hype you up and carry my weight as well. But yeah, man, I really got down on myself after that happened last night. I was pretty upset. It ranged from anger to pretty, sounds dumb, but an actual feeling of despair for a second. I really just felt like I was wrecking a good thing, and it was really hard to kind of come out of that. So didn't really know that it was going to make me feel that way when that small, seemingly negligible thing happened, but I was kind of surprised by it.
No, I get it. I told you last night, after we kind of came to the realization that it was gone, we were going to have to run it back. I told you I was disappointed, not at you, but for us. I think we both really care about this. We put a lot of time and effort and energy into it. And, we want it to succeed. We want it to do good. And, I think when we just put that much effort into something and don't have anything to show for it, I'm disappointed for us, not at you. So I appreciate you saying all this. Like I said last night, this whole thing was supposed to be something fun to do together. And the last thing I ever wanted it to do was to make either of us feel like shit or, put any sort of like strain on the relationship or anything like that. So, in the moment it was disappointing, but like the grand scheme of things, this is supposed to be fun. At the end of the day, that's all it's supposed to be right now. So just kind of put it in perspective, it sucked in the moment, but it wasn't like life-changing or anything like that, So we just move on, re-rack, and we're here. We're going to do it even better today.
We're going to run it back, baby. It really did mean a lot that you even logging on today kind of came in with the attitude that, hey, man, it was good practice. Definitely learned a lot about how to be more careful with my files once we get done recording. So it's all good stuff, man. And it's a thing, failure is a good teacher, man, and it can be hard. You know, I'm at a point in my life where I kind of thought I would be done making big mistakes. I thought it would all just be like kind of cleaning up the little ankle biters at this point, like, you know. But nah, we're still out here fucking up. But no, it helps a lot to have a partner who's there to kind of pat me on the back and tell me to get back in the ring and you know.
What? Yeah, of course. That's what we're here for. We're partners, and I think we would both agree this still remains our least favorite way to do this. And unfortunately, because we don't live up the street from each other, this is going to be an inevitable part of this project. Who knows? We might even have more virtual than in person, just kind of seeing how things unfold. So, you know, we're 6 into these. I think we've had, 3 in person. This will be our 3rd virtual. And the thought of doing an in-person just feels like such a breeze.
Oh, yeah.
And the thought
really
of,
is
trying to mastering this
nothing.
feels like such a daunting task. And like you were explaining before, the process is so delicate. Like literally the click of one wrong button and 2 hours worth of a show and work and effort can just be gone, you know, from the click of a button. It's wild how delicate this process is. So yeah, I get it. It's it makes me nervous. It really does.
Make backups, people. Make backups.
And one quick thing, I want to pump you up a little bit. Nobody will hear this because I did on the last episode yesterday, but you weren't feeling good. You were feeling like shit yesterday, and I kind of put you out there and said I appreciate you showing up last night. I know you didn't feel good, and it would have been quite reasonable and quite acceptable if you would have said, hey, I'm not feeling good at all. I need to skip a night. I think everybody would have understood that. But like I said, I know you, and I know you didn't want to disappoint me or anybody that's listening. So I don't want that to go unrecognized at all.
Ain't no way, baby. Can't hold me down.
You laid it on the line.
I laid it on the line, dude. No, I'm happy to be here and happy to do this, man. Well, let's get cracking, man. It sounds like you've got something teed up for us that's been in the news a little bit lately, and we both kind of talked about it offline. But I'm eager to take a deep dive into this.
Yeah, man. So we're gonna debut a new segment called Sick Depth, and before we get into what the topic is and everything like that, just a quick backstory on where that name comes from. It's kind of an inside joke between Josh and I. A while back, I was at an LA Fitness doing some squats, like I've been known to do.
I forgot
and
about
this. I'm doing my squats, and the guy next to me in the rack next to me comes over and taps me on my shoulder, and he says, "Dude, you have some sick depth on those squats."
What a combo! Like, I will tell you, for anyone who doesn't know, Cody's actually beefcake, man, and he can squat with exquisite form. It is really a thing to behold. So you do have sick depth, bro. So this is a fitting segment for us, I think.
It was funny because it was such I don't know. I've never been given that exact compliment before, and it was worded in such a way where I knew exactly what he was talking about, but it was still it was really funny to me. So
you're like a dog trying to express his glands on the carpet when you squat, dude. It is the deepest.
Ass to grass, baby. That's my motto.
That's right.
And so anyway, this segment is basically going to be, as the title kind of hints to, a deep dive into various topics. Some may be some topical news stuff. Others might just be random stuff that I discover, run across. So sick depth is just a deep dive. We're going to go we're going to have some sick depth on a specific topic.
Love it.
And this week, we touched on this last night. Nobody would ever know that. We're gonna go a little bit deeper this time.
Lost
into
to the ages.
The game the day before.
The day before. God.
The day before. So I'm sure you've heard of that, right?
Yes.
At the very least.
Initial impression is this is probably going to go to some sad and or shady territory. And now that you've like researched up, I'm actually really curious.
Yeah, and I would imagine if you're a fan of gaming, if you're following the news at all, you've at least heard of this game. So some listeners might be very up to date. and kind of know everything I'm about to go over. Others maybe not. Even if you're not a fan of gaming, this is pretty interesting. And I've just kind of chronologically ordered everything that happened from like the initial announcement to present day, and the story gets pretty wild. So I first want to say I didn't get all my info from them, but I got a lot of this info from PCGamer.com. So kind of want to cite my sources there, you know.
There you go. That's important.
They follow this really well. They had a ton of info. So I grabbed some stuff from other places, but a lot of this came from PC Gamer. Let's see. And so just want to be sure to shout them out. All right. This is quite the journey. You're going to want to buckle in, and feel free to jump in, ask questions, or anything like that. So a game called The Day Before was produced by a studio called Fantastic. It's headed by two brothers named, I'm going to have trouble pronouncing these names, Eduard Gatovsev, something like that. I'm probably butchering that. And his brother, Azen. Forgive me. These are like Russian names or something.
Yeah.
So
Bill and Johnny, we'll call them. I don't know.
All right, so we're going to go back to early 2021. So we're about 2 years ago. This studio was 5 years old. In early 2021, they released the announcement trailer for The Day Before. And in this trailer, it featured a few things. It featured some insane-looking graphics right off the top. I mean, this game, from this trailer, looked like The Last of Us, or like any game that comes to mind that you think of how good the graphics are. This trailer looked like that.
I do want to point out for anyone trying to having a difficult time trying to gather a visual, it is like a post-apocalyptic zombie shooter, pretty much. Like think of The Last of Us, and it's in that aesthetic.
Yeah, absolutely. I probably should kind of set the scene a little bit. This thing was billed as, and some of this will come to fruition through this timeline, but it was billed as this like massive online survival game where you could play with your friends. There's zombies, and you basically just explore this world with your buddies. There's other online players, and it was really just an online survival RPG game is how it was billed, at least. So in this original announcement trailer, you have those graphics. It features 2 players. It sounds like it's supposed to be like 2 players online. You can hear them kind of bantering back and forth. It doesn't really sound like it's coming necessarily from the characters in game. Rather, like if you and I were playing this game together, you know, it's more casual conversation like that. Giving the impression this is online, couple buddies they're playing. And basically like their car runs out of gas, and it shows them exploring the city, trying to find fuel. There's some combat. You have destructible environments. There's some stealth elements. There's a lot of zombies. Overall, just like a really jaw-dropping, really cool-looking game that was, the announcement trailer was dropped early January. So fast forward a couple months, same year, 2021 to April, and they release what is their gameplay trailer. So this is the second trailer following the announcement trailer. Okay. And you get some more crazy good-looking gameplay. It does look really scripted, but again, the graphics are pretty outstanding looking. It's showing other aspects, like some off-roading aspects. Have you heard of the game called Mud Runner?
Maybe.
It's basically like a off-roading simulation where like the mud and the vehicles, like everything is extremely realistic, and it's showing like mudding sections like that advanced looking.
Mud physics.
Flat. Yeah. It sounds crazy, but it's actually pretty wild looking. They're fixing flat tires. They're raiding farmhouses. It's just kind of an extension of the announcement trailer. It looks pretty jaw-dropping. Looks amazing. Everybody's getting super duper hyped. A few months later, following that second gameplay trailer, they finally give us a release date of June 2022, shared by the studio.
Oh, well,
so
that didn't happen.
No, it did not. We're mid-21 right now. They're saying, hey, 22 June, this game will be out. At this point, the hype is really starting to build. The game's been in production for a couple of years now. It's the most wish-listed game on Steam.
Wow, so the hype I didn't know that.
Yeah, dude, it was there for 2 years. And so the hype is like really, really growing around this game. At that point, the studio and pretty much all news, everything went dark until January of 2022. So we're now the year of release, but we haven't heard anything for about 8 months from April 21 to January 22. But in January of 22, they showed off another little trailer. This would be the third one where they showed like some ray tracing and just some really basic graphical stuff. Nothing quite as crazy as the first two trailers.
And this is what, to be clear, this is what people at the time thought was probably going to be the final trailer before the game dropped in June, right?
Yeah. At this point, we're 6 months or less away from the game supposedly releasing. So, hype's real. They're probably thinking, hey, here's the final touches on the graphics. Yeah, big time.
Okay.
And this is where we get our first delay. And not a small delay, not a couple months. We're talking a year, almost a year, to January of 23. So we've moved from mid-22 now to 2023. And their reasoning is so they could upgrade the game to Unreal Engine 5.
Wow.
Now, I don't know. I told you this when we were talking about GTA 6. I don't know anything about making a game, but it seems wild to be within 6 months of release and then say we're gonna swap the engine of this game. Like, is that as crazy as I think it sounds?
So, and again, I'm not a developer either, and I haven't done a lot of work in Unreal at all, but even if all they were doing was going from, say, Unreal 4 to Unreal 5,
right.
Still, yeah, like that's a lot of the assets don't change, I think. I mean, there's probably some subtle differences there.
Right.
Presumably the engine still functions similar to the previous version, but even so, like you're in final touches territory. You're on the red line, and you are effectively saying, let's take it all back to a year one state, which is crazy.
You think you'd be... Yeah, I thought the same thing. I don't know anything about what it actually takes, but like you said, you should be in polish stage at that point.
Yeah.
And run it all the way back to like rebuilding the engine or upgrading, whatever that may take. Just seemed crazy. Man, I'm drinking beer during this podcast, and I just remembered
you got the beer burps. That's all right.
Just remembered why I haven't been.
Let it out, bro.
Let's see. So there's a quote from the developer: feeling and understanding the great responsibility that we face with enormous gratitude in our hearts, we're pleased to announce that the day before switching to the new Unreal Engine 5 technology. This transition is a more advanced and adapted open worlds engine. Will make the gameplay of the day before even more fantastic. And then a quote from PC Gamer: it was a little weird. Big games sometimes get delayed just months before the release date, but usually they're pushed back by a matter of weeks or a month, not a whole year. Yeah. So even they're kind of saying this is really weird. 1 month after that delay, they start being criticized for using unpaid workers. So something comes out where they were using people to help build this game, but they weren't paying them.
Uh-oh.
Now the studio's saying they were volunteers. Quote, it's just kind of a weird note. I don't have a whole lot more on it, but it's coming out that they weren't paying their workers, which... not great, right? Not great.
Ain't no one volunteer. Like, it's widely known that making a game is some of the most, like, grueling work out there.
Right.
Ain't no one doing that shit for free, man.
No. I agree. I think there's something weird going on there. Okay. So from that point, we have 6 more months of silence. But they promised to show more gameplay before January 2023 release. It had been almost 2 years at this point since we had seen any gameplay or anything like that. So this is where things start to get really weird. The game has its second delay of 8 months. So the first one we're about a year, and then we get right up on the release date, and they delay it another 8 months. Something comes out about them having a trademark dispute with a calendar app over the name The Day Before.
Oh wow!
Which is so people are starting to say, how did you not have this name trademarked? Like, you've been working on this game for...
They didn't do the Google check, man.
yeah, going on 5 years. And now you're in court with a calendar app over the name. Like, that's day one stuff, locking up the name. When we started this podcast, And we figured out the name. The first thing we did was go grab all the handles on everything.
You gotta do the Google check, man. You gotta see like, oh, there's a candle company called the Hardpoint, man. We can't do it.
It's really weird. So on top of that, the game straight up disappeared from Steam. It's not even there. It was the #1 wish listed game, and now it's not even on Steam.
Oh wow.
They postponed the gameplay that they promised that was supposed to come out in January, and at this point, reactions are all over the place. So another quote from PC Gamer: on one hand, the dispute seemed real and disruptive for Fantastic, which is the game studio. Yeah. On the other hand, it's 8 months. That's a really long time to delay a game that's supposedly almost finished, unless it wasn't. So they're saying that they delayed this game another 8 months because of that trademark issue. But then the studio comes out and says they were going to delay it regardless of the trademark dispute. So they're kind of changing their story at this point, which I don't know why you would say that. I would just remain under the story that it was because of the trademark, because other than that it kind of just seems like you're not on top of your shit.
That made sense to people, and now eyebrows are going up.
Yeah, so in February, we were just in January 23, 1 month later, they did drop a gameplay trailer, but it was really weird. So it was just like a lot of running around, looting. There was barely any combat, and it looked nothing like those first 2 trailers that were initially dropped. And the studio's saying this is raw gameplay footage, and a lot of people are questioning that because there's no HUD, there's nothing. It was just kind of like running around a barren part of the map doing a whole bunch of nothing, right?
Yeah.
So that same month, trailers start to disappear from their YouTube page. So some of the earlier stuff the stuff that was getting everybody hyped, starting to disappear. The studio saying it was because of the lawsuit. It's still removed from Steam. Trailers are disappearing. They beat the lawsuit, and it was back on Steam in November of 23. So we're almost up to date at this point. About 3 months ago in November, it got put back on Steam. But here's the yay boo. That's the yay. The boo is there's another delay. So this will be the 3rd delay, which would ultimately be the final delay. Now it's supposed to be released December of 23. They released a new trailer. It wasn't half bad. And they dropped this letter to like future players, people that didn't believe in us, supporters, streamers, basically addressing anybody and everybody right before this game dropped. So this is where the game is here. 2023, December, the game actually drops, and people are kind of losing their minds because I don't know about you if you saw stuff right when it came out, but I was seeing videos like, oh my God, this game is real. I can't believe it actually exists. Like, I didn't follow this that closely as all this was unfolding in real time. It just kind of struck me as a game that looked pretty cool. And when it finally came out, I saw everybody kind of in disbelief that it even existed. Did you see anything like that when it first came out?
I remember seeing the like the game cover essentially, which is a really good looking render. It's like this Idris Elba looking dude, like kind of like half of his face or whatever, and just says the day before. But the render looks good. Like, you typically don't see character models like that, even if it's pre-rendered or whatever, from a game that looks like PUBG Year One. Right.
Yeah, you're right. That did look really cool, and that was part of the thing. Just looking at like the title and that cover, I mean, it looks pretty
clean.
Sweet.
Yeah,
yeah. So the game releases. Most players who bought the game can't even play it right off the bat, and on top of that, it's not open world, it's not MMO, it's not survival, it's not RPG. It's basically nothing that it promised to be. It's a basic loot and shoot extraction game. You know, it's just nothing like what they promised and hyped it up to be. Yeah. And maybe the most weird note of this whole story, so 4 days after, and I'm sure this is where people kind of know most of this stuff from here on, the studio shut down 4 days after they released the game, and they stated they failed financially. So they're saying we used all the income to pay off debts. There's no money to release any patches or work on this game. And they just also threw on top of that, we didn't have any crowdfunding. We didn't take any money from anybody. You know, they're basically just saying, look, we bit off more than we could chew. We can't financially sustain to upkeep this game anymore. And on top of that, you can't even buy the game on Steam today. It's not even on there.
Really?
The game, it's straight up taken off. Their YouTube page is gone. Their Discord is gone. Their Twitter is gone. And the LinkedIn for the two brothers is gone. So everything's like years and years and years of supposedly working on this game, hyping it up. You release it. And within a matter of days, it's not even available anymore. Which
it
is
doesn't
so
exist.
wild. It does not exist.
That my initial impression is that it's sad, right? Like, I want to, in my heart, I want to believe like these two weren't a couple like some big money grubbing studio. You know, I think last night on the Lost episode we talked about how this kind of had the stink of like, was this some kind of like pump and dump kind of like cash grab opportunity, like someone kind of throttled it up to try to get some investment in it and then just dipped out as soon as it launched. I don't know if that's the case with that after hearing all that. I really do feel like it is they bit off more than they could chew situation. But for it to have such a saga behind it.
That's what I would like to believe. There is some financial stuff here. So the 2023 stuff hasn't come out yet, but last year they dug up. That studio had $3.4 million in revenue last year. They paid the directors $200K each.
Whoa.
They had travel expenses of $310,000 in 22 alone. And they had $1.4 million in cash, debunking the failed financially to patch the game.
Oh, okay. Never mind. They're shady.
And it's really weird. And on top of that, we talked about it last night a little bit, but it came out that they were asset flipping for this game. So I didn't really know what that was, but basically it's just you're buying pre-created assets within a game. So like anything, like, you know, a table, a chair, a desk, a gas station, a building, like you can just buy those and put them in your game, which normally isn't. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's not what they advertised. It's not what they told us it was. It said, we worked for 5 years creating this thing from the ground up. And from what I read, asset flipping is normally used by like beginners or somebody like trying to learn how to make a video game in general, not somebody releasing a AAA title, saying that we built this from the ground up.
Feels kind of lazy almost.
It does. It really does. So the story is still unfolding. That's pretty much the story. There are some devs that are coming out and saying, like, I don't know why they were calling it an MMO. It was never that. Like, they were kind of selling something that we were never building, really.
I think the belief was that it was going to be like, and I've never played either of these, but it was essentially going to be like a Rust or a DayZ, where it's like a zombie survival game where you're going out, running into zombies and other players, looting gear and stuff like that. But it doesn't sound like it touched any of that.
No, and they sold 200,000 copies. About half have been refunded. The ones that have not been refunded, I don't know what they're doing. And the last note, at its peak, they had 38,000 players online at any given time. And currently they have about 4,000. So it's dropped off a cliff. And
it's got to be through that window of, if you haven't gotten a refund now, you have to wonder if you'd get one anyway at this point.
Yeah. I just found this really fascinating. It was a game that I was kind of keeping on my peripherals. I mentioned it to you a couple times. I thought it'd be pretty cool. And when it came out, I mean, it's a really wild story. And you got your people that are saying it was definitely a scam, and your other people saying, maybe the more optimistic people saying, no, it's probably just a tiny little studio that bit off more than they could chew. I really don't know what I believe, but the whole thing is really fishy, especially considering all that financial stuff that came out.
It's such a weird time that we live in. You kind of hope that something like this happens, and it's like, okay, can they roll this into a No Man's Sky or like a Cyberpunk situation?
Yeah,
where
they just kind of gave up on it.
Yeah, I mean, 4 days after it launched.
Right.
And I mean, yeah, it's trash, but it's now, unfortunately, it's gonna Sounds like it's going to stay trash. Yeah. Pre-ordering to me is putting a lot of stock in belief in any. I mean, like take Cyberpunk for instance. I mean, they had just come off the heels of Witcher 3,
Right.
The developers that made that game. It had every reason to be awesome and warrant a pre-order. And I still was like, I'm not doing that, and I'm glad I didn't.
I don't remember the last game I actually pre-ordered because normally I'm like, why? I just buy it when it comes out, you know. And I love reviews. I like one of my favorite things just to watch or read or just game reviews. Going to YouTube and watching Gamer Ranks or IGN or something like that. They're really fun.
Sure.
And letting somebody else tell me whether it's worth my money or not before I spend it is kind of a part of my game buying process.
It kind of matters, right? Like there's things that I can enjoy regardless of the reviews on them.
Right.
But how are we doing on time?
I just stopped it and restarted it, so we can whenever we find a natural break right here, we can stop it if we need one.
No, we're good. I'm good to roll. Okay. I think the only appeal for pre-order in this day and age in this landscape for me is like maybe Call of Duty is going to give me some free skins, but even so,
Sure.
like those pre-order packs for Call of Duty are no longer. I mean, it's like $100 to get a legendary edition of anything now, and I can't warrant if a console costs, we'll say $400 today.
Right.
I can't warrant 1/4 of the cost of that console for a single game. That game better be 1/4 of the time of that gaming system's lifespan that I play it. Better be spent playing that fucking game. Just $100 is crazy for me. So I don't know. For me, pre-orders are something just like a pointless luxury, honestly.
Yeah, I agree. For me, like even the $69.99, like the new price tag, you know, the modern day price tag of a game is. I remember growing up, like the PS2 games, they were $29.99 brand new. I'm pretty sure, and they kind of like the next gen went like $39.99, $49.99, $59.99, and we've just kind of evolved to like, you know, they've more than doubled in price for brand new games since we were, you know.
We've kind of grown to accept it. And there's certain cases where like these big AAA games, like whatever, the Grand Theft Autos of the world, like
I'll probably pre-order that.
You might. when you consider how many years of development and work goes into those games, and it's like, okay, $70 is them probably trying to pay all their people after all that.
Right.
But some games don't need to be $70, man. I would say I love Call of Duty. I play the shit out of Call of Duty. If I could pay $50 and just get the multiplayer, because I haven't played a Call of Duty campaign in I don't know how long. And so that is something that is part of that game that I've paid for year after year and not used. If there was a way that you could cut that out, that would be hunky-dory for me.
Well, I know Modern Warfare 3 dang sure wasn't, I don't know, dude, that thing felt more like should have been a DLC or an expansion pack. That was not a fresh game.
Exactly. Like they essentially, again, another campaign I'm not going to fucking play. Added some guns. They added some maps. They added maybe some operators, I guess. It's fun, but it wasn't $70 worth. Absolutely not. Not by a long shot. So I don't know, man. There's pieces of this that I really don't enjoy, but I understand from a holistic game making perspective, it is more expensive and more labor intensive to make a game in these days. And as long as the game that comes out is good, I'm good with $70. But
did you see that? I saw it was like somebody high up, I think at Rockstar, that was throwing out the idea of games costing per hour and not just being like you buy the game and you own it, but it's like a pay per hour type thing.
I think I would be good with that as long as it caps at the cost of just dead ass just buying it outright.
Well, it wouldn't. It's not to like. It's not to save for the consumer. It's the head of a gaming company saying like, dude, it takes us so much time to build this game, so much time and so much money, and to be able to sell 10 years worth of work for $70 doesn't make sense.
Well,
I'm not on his side. I'd never heard anything like that, and I was just curious if you'd even heard that. I think that would ruin the gaming industry.
I think I have heard that, and I honestly like. I think when these companies like the Unity is another gaming engine that recently kind of came under fire for trying to like make people pay more
Right.
to use it, and it's like. We understand if you need to, at a base level, make your products more expensive. That
Right.
makes sense, all right? But for you to keep coming back and sticking your hand in the wallet over and over and over again,
Yeah.
I've got so many, almost everything I have in my house is on some kind of fucking auto draft payment plan.
Subscription. Yeah.
I have so many right now, and I don't want to do any more of that. It
Right.
just feels opportunistic in a way that's like I'd rather just not use your product. If I'm being honest,
Yeah. No, I totally agree.
That said, if they make GTA 6 pay by the hour, I'm still gonna fucking do it.
That might be the one game that, all right, whatever it takes.
Yeah, if they wanted to, they could because they know people are gonna fucking do it. So, all right. Speaking of Cyberpunk, we touched on a little bit a second ago. We definitely touched on it last night. We have been talking about several episodes in a row now, talking about taking the dive, and it finally went on sale. So Cody and I both snatched it up, started to play through. Cody, you gave a very stirring initial impression last night. That is unfortunately no longer with us. I don't know. Do you want to touch on again some of your initial impressions, or maybe just an updated thought on Cyberpunk so far?
Yeah, I'll give a less long-winded answer than I gave last night, but my initial impressions are very good. I'm having a lot of fun with this game. Like I said last night, the one thing that really, really stands out to me is just the sheer impact that you have on the direction that the game goes. It truly, and I don't know if it's an illusion or if you actually have this much control, but I feel as though every decision that I make, every conversation that I have is actively steering this game and story in a different direction. And
Absolutely.
a lot of, it's nothing new really. A lot of games give you choices and stuff like this, but I've never played one that made me feel more like I could start this game 10 different times and have 10 different experiences with it. And we touched last night that right out of the gate, you're given 3 different choices, which is basically your background. And that is 3 different intros into the game. You start in a different place. And I've only done one. We did 2 different ones, but it sounds like they were very, very different. And just the way that you're kind of introduced into this world and the way that you're addressed by other people is completely different. And within the avenue that I picked, I felt like it probably could have gone several different directions just based on stuff that I did. Like, I think I could have picked Nomad again and maybe still have a completely different experience. And the quick example that I gave last night was, I'm sent on this mission by character A to meet character B to go carry some mission out. And character B, while I'm there, is like, hey, we could cut character A out of this and you and I split the pot 50-50. And you're given the option of saying, yes, cool, let's do that. Or no, character A really trusts me, I'm loyal to him. And then after that, you go back to character A and he asks you how it went and you can lie to him. And I told character B, yes, let's do that. So you can tell character A, it's all good. Don't tell him what happened. Or you could tell him they liked me so much that they're trying to cut you out of it. So right there, kind of back to back, there's several different combinations that you could have played that. And I don't know if the outcome truly is different or not, but it at least presents the illusion that what you're doing in this game is making a difference.
I think so too. I think there are even just a little like minutia, like those choices aren't really bound up in like these big like A or B, what's it gonna be moments.
Right.
There's so many little like dialogue options where it's like I was like on one mission and it was like I could have killed this guy and we ended up going on to like repel a strike by the cops together. So it was like, holy shit, like I could have killed that guy and he ended up saving my ass in the fight. And that would have been just a split decision that I made.
Right. Yeah.
I think a lot of my early the things I heard about this game had to do with the appeal of Night City. I'd say that's 100% founded. Like, that city feels alive. It feels lived in. I think a lot of the NPCs initially when this game came out when it launched, and it was, kind of looked like shit. They've dialed in a lot of the NPC behavior to where they feel like they have actual real business.
Right.
They're not just kind of wandering around.
Right.
And, nice weather we're having. They feel like actual denizens of the city, which I love. The characters' designs are really good. I'm having a great time so far playing this game, man.
I am too. I think the characters and the story is really what's going to drive me through this game. And everything that I've read, the main story is good. It's a little short, but like the side quests and the side missions and the characters that you meet kind of off the beaten path are some of the greatest moments in this game. Everything that I've read is don't skip the side missions, pay attention to those. Because a lot of times those are not just a one and done thing. It's kind of its own story that's really fleshed out and kind of takes you on a separate journey aside from the main story, and you can get some cool, I don't know, cars and guns and stuff by going that way.
Definitely.
But you're right. There was a moment too in mine where I could have killed a character or not, and I did. But it's some of these decisions are not timed, but others have this active countdown. It's a bar that's moving where if you don't pick something, I assume it just picks for you. And so some of this stuff is a very split decision. Like, you don't have time to sit there and mull it over and think about the consequence. Kind of like in real life, it's
the stakes feel real sometimes. Yeah. Now I'm enjoying it. The game looks great, runs great too. We are playing on Xbox. I think initially like the way to play this really was only going to be on one of the maybe a PC or something, but it's running really good. I've had a couple of crashes, nothing major, no lost saves or anything, thankfully.
Yeah.
I did go in and play with the settings today. I kind of talked to you about removing the film grain and then setting it to performance mode. I find that it looks a lot cleaner. It's running at 60 FPS and looks really good, I think. So,
did you mess with like the I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, I think it gives you a lot of room to tune. Like we talked last night, we talked a lot about like the numbers flying off people's head when you shoot at them, because the enemies in this game are admittedly a little bullet spongy, we'll call it. But you can turn that off, which is really cool. So you can go into a lot of the accessibility settings and turn off, even the hit markers and stuff if you want. So you can really fine tune your HUD and just the look of the game to a point where you like it. So I actually don't really care for the film grain than the motion blur. I like it to look a little sleeker. So and it has the sleekness of the menu now when you're moving around in the menu now. So
that's changed since last night. Last night one of your knocks was like the numbers flying off the enemies as you're shooting them. So it's cool to hear that you can actually change that. Did you mess around with like the progression system or the perks or anything like that? Do you have a better understanding for that?
I did finally today, because it was a thing of where this game will kind of drag you around if you let it. There's certain points where if you go meet a character, it may be a good hour before you get another chance to walk around in the world again and kind of do any exploration. So anytime you're going to see one of the key characters in the game, just kind of be warned, you might want to stop and clean up some side missions or even just, take a time. But anyway, all that to say, I finally had a pause today where I could go in and I was like, oh yeah, you get perk points. I had like 8. I had like 8 perk points. I was like, oh shit, I've been running around slumming it. I better. So I did. I dumped some points into my progression system. A lot of them. So you have your overall kind of attributes, right? Your whatever, your intelligence, your charm, your strength, whatever their switchable term is there. And then within that, you have actual skills, like movements and stuff that you can perform, or little buffs to your health and stuff. Some of them don't really. Some of them are kind of just pointless to me, or pointless insofar as I don't really understand. Like one of them was you could put a point and increase your RAM, and I was like, I don't know what that means in terms of like playing this game, but whatever.
I saw that too. Does that have anything to do with? There was a point in the combat where I was trying to shoot the pistol at like a rapid pace, and it was not firing every time I was pulling the trigger. And I didn't know if that had something to do with like a stamina RAM thing.
I don't know. I will say, like we talked about it last night, and still after a couple of hours today, I will say the combat is this game's weak point for me so far.
Yeah.
And again, a lot of that, I will say, I played a section today that I don't believe you've gotten to, but I'll say it this. You play briefly as another character in the game, and I think it is a way that the devs are showing you this is how strong you could be if you pay careful attention, because I got in a fight with that character, and I was absolutely obliterating everyone. That's cool. Pretty much everyone was one hit. So you play maybe another hour or two, and you'll know what I'm talking about. But yeah, I'm not jazzed on the combat so far. I almost said jizzed. I'm not jizzed on the combat so far. Man, the Freudian slips just run crazy on this show, man. So I'm not jizzed on the combat. No. But all in all, it's. I feel like this character matters. I texted Cody today. I said this game has officially gotten its hooks in me, and I'm going to take it to the finish line. I think so. I'm enjoying it.
What kind of build are you trying to do as far as like more just like a shooter stealth?
I am putting points into better health and some stealth stuff. I don't really know what the eventuality of a lot of this stuff is. Like I think you had talked about being kind of like a stealthy ninja and kind of getting better with like your melee and your swords and all that stuff, which sounds cool. But I think I'm so far away from being able to experience a lot of that I'm kind of just doing a well-rounded approach. So I think at one point I had like 6, a bunch of my general like attribute points. So I was just like, well, one apiece. There you go. So I just kind of gave it an even spread. And I may even keep that going, just kind of rotate. A lot of times when I play like an RPG where you are like leveling up, I will kind of cycle between, like Skyrim, I would put a point in health and then stamina and then magic and then start that rotation over. So I don't know. I feel like this game's not going to punish me if I just go like, hey, I'm just going to be a bruiser. I'm going to be all strength and guns. I don't think it's going to punish me necessarily if my stealth is low. So it's not like
you can refund all your points too. So it's kind of low commitment.
I saw that. Yeah, it's like a thing of like you can respec at the drop of a hat. Like presumably if I'm on a mission where they're like you're going to need to be stealthy on this one, I can just like back up and be like, "Oh, that's fine. All points into stealthy shit." All right, let's rock and roll. So maybe it is like that. In my opinion, what I want is for my choices to be rather final, but maybe that's the cyberpunk world, right? You can respec and whatever. You can cyber enhance and be whatever you want at the drop of a hat. So, but I'm cool with it. All in all, I think the point I got to today really, really settled it for me. I'm into it. I never played it at launch. I didn't play it when it came out, and it was apparently dog shit. I purposefully stayed away in hopes that we would get to the state that the game is in today. And I will tell you that I made the right decision in that case. It came out, 2020? Did it come out 2020 or 2021? Yeah. I can't remember.
Yeah, that was a game, speaking of relating back to earlier, that it was heavily refunded. When it came out, a lot of people were just like, this is not, it is today what it should have been when it was released.
Absolutely. And I will say, I think the gap is probably still a little too big. Like that's definitely like suspect to me. Like it's good that it's good now, but for it to be as bad as it was at launch and require all the work that it did, that's there are people that got burned and aren't going to play it now. They may never play another, CD Projekt Red game, which stinks. I have to imagine, like, I would posit, like, what would you do if GTA 6 comes out and it's as dog shit as Cyberpunk was at launch? Would you wait it out? Would you? I mean, we've already kind of expressed that we're all in on that. So
yeah,
I don't know. How do you feel about that? Like, it comes out and it's dog shit.
I would wait it out. I'm not going to play a shitty game. There's no reason to. There's enough good games out there where you shouldn't have to slog through a shitty game because you want it to be good or whatever. If it takes 6 months or 3 years to come back around to it, I'll wait. There's just no reason to do that, I don't think.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, and I'm again, like, I don't believe in FOMO. I think that's redonkulous. Like, a lot of these games, like, whatever. Yeah, if it's a game that I might not be able to play in the future because it's not going to be. I mean, the same reason I have my PS3 right here is because you can only play Metal Gear Solid 4 on a PS3. In that case, like, FOMO was kind of a thing. But for most games that come out now, it's like, I'll just download it in a couple of years when they fix it. So
right.
But yeah, I think we made the right call, and it is a really good time to get in on it. Like we said, it's on sale. I think Cody just got the base version. It was what, $30?
$30.
Yeah,
so an appropriate. I could see paying $60 for it now. I think, given everything, I wouldn't pay $60 for what are we going on 3 years, 3 going on 4-year-old game, So even though it is kind of freshly, renewed and everything, I don't think paying $60 for it makes sense because it is 3 years old. If they waited and released it today, okay, take my money, $60, but it's a 3-year-old game. Like, that's 3-year-old games should not be able to be sold for $60. That's ridiculous.
That is something like Nintendo is, like, classically bad about, like, they will never price drop their games. Like, I think when we bought Zelda Breath of the Wild, it was, I want to say, like, 2021 or 22. The game came out in 2017. It was still $60 like that many years later. And that to me is like, okay, it's a good, I get it. Game of the year type of shit. I understand it's a good game. But I don't know. I don't know if I believe that.
Hell no.
That, after the first, I will say 2 years. After 2 years after a game comes out, $10 price drop minimum.
Yeah, it's good though. I haven't really had a good chance to play it since Saturday night, and you having a good time with it and texting me about it really has me itching to get back and play it as soon as I can. So I'm excited. I'm really
playing it tonight as soon as we log off. Actually, as soon as I get my files saved to the appropriate location, I'm going to go play some fucking Cyberpunk. I'm going to do my real life Cyberpunk, and then I'm going to go play the game. But yeah, it's a good game. It's a really good time to get into it. Like we said, it's on sale. They also have the DLC discounted right now. So if you're looking to have the all-inclusive experience, it's all discounted. But yeah, Cyberpunk, I'm excited. I'm enjoying it. Okay. We're going to do a couple write-in questions here at the end of the show. Always welcome to hit us up on our Instagram. You can go to my Discord. We're still working on... Are we setting up a Discord? We should set up a Discord. We really should for this type of stuff.
We should. You're going to have to do that. I know literally nothing about Discord.
I got it. I'm giving you listeners my solemn promise. By the next time you hear my voice on episode 7, you will have a Discord you can run to and ask us questions and get in our ear, and you never know, we might read it on the show.
Yay.
Right.
One day we want to do this was totally random. I just have to say it now because I started talking. One day we want to do a live episode. I think that'd be cool. We've talked about it in the past. I think there'll be some pretty big technical hurdles that we'll have to figure out. But one day that would be really, really fun.
We might do it when we're live and in color. If we do an in-person live, that might cut out a lot of the technical minutia, and we can just do it with relative ease. But yeah, live episodes are fun. The last podcast I did, for those of you who don't know, I ran a podcast back a couple years ago. It was called Dadcore. And we did all of our episodes live, which was a lot of work.
Feels like a lot of pressure too.
It is. And there's a lot of suddenly we kind of roll whenever we need to, and there's not really like a big time crunch on it.
Right.
But man, when you got hey, we got to be live in 5 minutes and we can't hear each other type of shit.
I don't think you and I have started on time on any of our podcasts, and nobody would know that because they're not live. But
they don't know that because we're not live. So, but yeah, we're working on some alternatives to just the weekly regular episodes. But yeah, Discord coming to a theater near you. Anyway, from my Discord, Confed Yank, good friend Confed Yank, who also occasionally mods on my Twitch streams from time to time. What's your favorite Christmas gift? We'll go. What's your favorite Christmas gift you ever got? I'll fill in the blank for him.
Oh, Christmas gift. Man, I don't know if it's bad. Nothing like.
No bangers from like back in the day.
Man, I feel like it probably was some sort of console or something like.
That's every guy's answer, man.
Why? Boy, we always had good Christmases. Me not having an answer is not because we didn't get stuff, but
even if it was like a nice button-up shirt you got.
Well, yeah. Boy.
Well,
I'm gonna let you go, and then
I was gonna say I'll let the cat out of the bag. Mine was absolutely in 4th grade when I got my PlayStation 1. That was one of the hypest Christmases of my life. I got a sampler disc. I got Tomb Raider, and I got WCW versus NWO Nitro, and it had like Sting and Hogan on it.
Oh yeah.
And man, it was hype. I loved that thing, man. I ran that PlayStation raw. Ran that thing
badass.
out.
I don't know why. I don't have a specific anything that's like. I do remember just asking for a lot of games and stuff. Like you could always tell when a game was wrapped. You know, that was like.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I still to this day will kind of do like the wrapped present forensics. And I'm like, give a little shake. But you can a packaged, disc game is easy to suss out.
Yeah. I'll go something like that.
Well, but you never had anything that was like, I can't believe you got this for me, or like you didn't think you were gonna get it.
If there was, I don't remember it.
What? Damn. Underwhelmed.
I got a really bad memory. I'm gonna blame this on my terror. I don't remember like little details like that. I just don't. I don't remember like the last 10 years.
I thought you meant like, well, I have like an isolated bad memory of getting like a lump of coal or something. But
no.
You just generally have a bad memory.
I just yeah, exactly. Not a specifically bad memory. I have a bad memory in general. Like I just don't remember like anything.
Do you have like what's a Christmas gift you got for someone else? They were like, yeah, nailed it. Anything?
That's gonna be equally as hard to remember.
What?
I'm bad at gifts, dude. I'm bad at gifts, and I have a bad memory. This is such a mail-in answer, but I got nothing. I got absolutely nothing.
Well, there you go. Cody can't even bring anything up for that one.
Maybe episode 7, I'll circle back to this.
So, wait, I got it. This is a good one. This is actually pretty apropos to what happened last night. What's your biggest goof? What's your biggest goof, man? If you care to share.
My biggest goof. Man, these are on the spot. I need to share these beforehand so I can
let you on ramp a little bit.
Yeah.
What's your biggest goof, man? Talk to us.
Man,
my biggest recent goof was deleting the audio and the video from last night. That's hands down like the dumbest I have felt in many months at least.
This one's actually really, really. I don't even know if I want to say this. This is bad.
You don't have to throw it out there.
Really, really bad.
It's up to you, man.
I'm going to throw it out there and... No, not quite that bad.
It's really bad.
Like, one notch under that. It's okay. To this day, I feel so bad about this. And if you're listening, I would like to just pre-apologize and say I'm really sorry. But one year... I forgot my mom's birthday.
Oh, man. You're going to hell.
I forgot my mother's birthday, who would never, ever, ever in a million years forget mine. And it's one of these things where, like, I don't know anybody's birthday. I just don't. It's not, some people remember rap lyrics. Some people remember historical facts. Some people remember birthdays. I don't, birthdays do not stick in my mind for whatever reason. I know, like, mine, I could count on one hand the amount of people's birthday that I know.
Do you know my birthday?
No.
It's like 2 days before your wife's birthday. Actually, it's the day before your wife's birthday.
Yeah. Okay. So, May 31st?
May 31st. That's my birthday.
There we go.
That's how you'll remember it now. It's the day before your wife's birthday.
Okay. I probably should have made that connection already because it's almost guaranteed that we've all talked about that before. So my mom texted me like the day after or a couple days after, and she's like, so no big deal, but my birthday was on, Saturday or whatever. And I feel like I was never able to make that up. She probably doesn't care. Maybe she does. I don't know. But I feel so bad about that.
So can I say, it's actually pretty heartwarming and adorable that your biggest goof was forgetting your mom's birthday. I thought you hit someone with a car and drove away. I thought you were going to say something way worse.
I wouldn't incriminate myself. If I did that, you would never know.
Well, but I mean, like, comparatively, let me be clear. It means a lot that you would think that's a goof. That's an unacceptable goof.
I've undoubtedly done worse things in my life, but to me, goof is kind of a lighthearted.
It's a whoopsie daisy. Yeah.
It's a whoopsie daisy. So I would say, like, I've done worse things, but as far as just like my biggest, oh crap, whoopsie daisy type thing, I would probably say that at least comes to mind.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, Mom.
That makes sense. Yeah. Sorry, Mom. I will say my other biggest goof, besides the one last night, this one's kind of funny because you were there, but we were hanging out. This was last year. It was right after we had moved where we're at, and you and your wife came up, and we were chilling on a Saturday night. So you and your wife, me and my wife, and we're watching TV, and I'm like, I can't think of anything to watch, so we'll watch maybe some comedians. And in my mind, I like Dave Chappelle. I like Chappelle's show. Chappelle's show's really funny. So I'm thinking, like,
this
hey,
is
man,
so funny.
Back in the day, the funniest Chappelle show sketch was the one where he's a black white supremacist, right? Clayton Bigsby, right? This is a surefire, like, get people laughing. So I throw it on. It's silent the whole time. And that I did not realize until I put it on. It's like almost a 20-minute sketch. It's long as shit. Sketch finishes real quiet, and I am mortified. I'm like, because it is just N-word after N-word.
There had to have been 500
It
N-words
was
in that thing.
Real bad, and I realized very quickly, like, this was a social faux pas.
I remember it ended, and there was a moment of silence, and I said, boy, that was a white knuckle ride. I think if there could have been a camera that was facing us, we would have all been depressed back in that couch so far, eyes slightly open, and just darting back and forth looking at each other.
It was one of the few times where, like, after the fact, I told my wife, I was like, yeah, I don't know why I did that. And she was like, yeah, I don't know why you did that.
And none of us thought, I think we were all so, like, nobody spoke up in the middle of it. We all sat through that whole ass thing, and then credits rolled, and we just kind of looked at each other like, boy,
oh my gosh,
that was something.
Yeah. Yeah. Did not read the room. Did not have the forethought to think maybe this is not. Maybe this sketch doesn't hold up, especially for a room full of white people. I don't know. So yeah, there you go.
That's hilarious. That's
Pretty big goof.
boy. I've been involved in both of your biggest goofs. Maybe it's me.
Yeah. Maybe it's you. Hey, I want to say thank you to everyone who's still with us. Holiday season's coming up, but want to let you know we are still got a plan in place to make sure you guys get your one episode a week. If you're a return listener, again, we want to say thank you for coming back to the Hardpoint. If you're new, hit that subscribe button. Hit the little bell. Ding-a-ling-a-ling. Leave a comment if you heard something. If Cody's goof was bigger than I made it out. Jump in the comments and chastise him for forgetting his mom's birthday.
Have any of you ever forgotten your mom's birthday? Let me know.
Better not do it. Hey, big thanks to everyone who wrote in. We are, I think, looking at doing an in-person episode this coming weekend. We're going to try.
We're going to try it with my wife. We're good to go. Yeah.
Cleared hot with the tower, so we're good for that. So that'll be fun. But hey, yeah, thanks for that. Continue to write in. Again, we'll get the Discord set up, and then hopefully we'll probably update the bio for this, or the description for this episode. And then in the future, you can just hit the link in the description and run over to the Discord, and we'll have a specific channel where you can jump in there and, write us questions and tell us what you think of the show. If you're an audio listener, boy, it sure would mean a lot if you'd leave us a review. Tell us what you think of the show. We've been getting
a few. I think we had we're up in the double digits on Spotify alone last time I looked. So anyone that's gone and done that, really, really appreciate it.
Huge thanks. And then again, I know I say it every week. I think we're really looking toward the beginning of the new year, but we are working on some Patreon type content to kind of offer you guys a little bit more beyond just the podcast each week. But hey, really appreciate you guys coming out and sticking with us. Episode 6.1 in the can.
Kind of the impromptu episode. Everything we did today, I guess we did not repeat last night's episode. We kind of agreed.
It just would have felt very disingenuous, I think, if we'd done it that way.
If we would have tried to repeat that word for word. So everything we did here was kind of created last second. So hopefully the sick depth was entertaining enough, and usually our episodes have a week of prep put in them, and this one was kind of we need to come up with something new and different from last night. So, hopefully it was entertaining still.
Absolutely. So, yes, thanks for coming along with us on this journey. My name's Josh.
My name's Cody.
And I hope you are Baja blessed this season. Coming.
Baja
blessed. See ya on the flippy.
See ya. Redo that one.